G'day, Jeff Lewis here from Seriously Series, and welcome to another episode in servicing your 4x4. Today what we're going to look at is how to remove the transmission or the gearbox and transfer case from your Series Land Rover. I'll explain why I'm actually doing this to the Series 3, and obviously the principles behind what we're going to do today is exactly the same pretty much on any four-wheel drive vehicle. So if this is a video that's of interest to you, then you know what to do. Stay tuned. Right to go, as you can see I've already made a bit of a start, and this was primarily because I've taken the engine out of the Series 3 as you've seen in previous episodes. The reason why I'm taking the transmission out is because I have got a seal that is leaking between the transfer case and the gearbox, and this is something that's rather common with the Series Land Rovers and is certainly something worth replacing or investigating if you're looking at doing a full restoration or a overhaul on your series vehicle. It's also very common in the FJ40 series Land Cruisers, so like the 45 and the 47 series I believe, so Duncan will be able to correct me on that, but it's one of these things that you really need to do. I tried to sort of get around it and do it the cheats way and actually removed the transfer case with the gearbox still in the vehicle, but sadly in the process of putting the new seal in I just don't think it was quite right. So I want to be 100% correct, and since I'm going to the trouble of putting a new motor in, I thought I might as well take the transmission out and obviously give it a little bit of a birthday, just go around and just double check absolutely everything, replace any gaskets that need doing, and just make sure it's 100% correct for our big trip coming up in August of this year, as we're hoping to obviously travel from the Red Centre right down to the Australian Bight on nothing but backtracks. So I want the Series 3 to be absolutely smick. So the first thing that you really need to do is obviously take out your floor plates, which if you're doing it for the first time can be a real pain in you know what. Once you've done that, you need to take out the panels which are underneath the seat cushions, which there's obviously 3 of. And with this vehicle we've obviously got a few other things that we need to do. We need to obviously disconnect the tap, because we've got a tap in here, so we can actually go from the tank on the left hand side of the vehicle and the right hand side, so we just need to undo that, some of the fittings, so we can then take the seat box out, slide it forward and pull it out of the car. The other thing that we need to do is obviously the shroud around the handbrake. We need to obviously slacken that off, and then we need to obviously take the plate off and then take the boot out with it, which I'll show you later on. We then need to obviously disconnect the handbrake from the transfer case. We need to obviously then take the front and rear prop shafts off, and we then need to obviously take the nuts off for the gearbox mount, or they're actually on the transfer case, but transfer case mounts. With this also we've got to take the Roma drive out, and if you have got an overdrive you will want to take that off first before taking it out. If you do that, you've only got about that much space between that and a cross member that runs across the chassis, and it's pretty much just a square peg trying to go into a round hole. It isn't going to work. So I find it best just to take the Roma drive off, which is what we've got here, and then we can obviously slide the gearbox transmission back, and we can use an engine crane, jack it up and pull it up through the vehicle. Now many of you might say, why don't you go underneath? Well, I don't have a fancy hoist at all. Wish I did, but I don't. So this is the easiest way to do it, and believe me, even if you're going to take it through the underbelly of the vehicle, you still got to do half of this work anyway. So it's not that much more. You're just really taking the seat box out and that's it. So anyway, enough from me. Let's get the sockets twirling and the spanners spinning and get into it. Rightio, so that's the rear prop shaft off. The front prop shaft has been disconnected. And I just thought I'd stop here and just tell you about a fantastic little tool that you can get to make your job a heck of a lot easier. This is an attachment that actually goes onto your wrench or your fancy rattle gun, as I've got here. And basically at this end, it tapers down into a 9/16 socket. It's high tensile steel, I believe, and it's obviously got a very thin rim around the actual socket itself, but it is perfect for getting in there into the actual prop shaft, particularly where it joins onto the gearbox. This can be really difficult and really fiddly to get two spanners in to actually undo the bolts, which there's 4 of if you didn't know. With this though, what I can do is I can jack up the wheel and I can just simply rotate the prop shaft round. Obviously with a battery on the rattle gun, I can put it into reverse, put the spanner on the other side, boom boom boom, done. Literally takes me probably about 15 minutes to do, whereas beforehand it would probably take me at least double that, if not more. So very handy. So you can pick these up from, I bought this one from John Craddock. If I find it, I'll put a link in the description box down below, and you can obviously go there and have a look yourself. I don't think it was very expensive. I think probably $30 Australian or £15, something like that. But literally a time saver, and any tool that's a time saver in my mind is well worth having. Anyway, let's get onto the seat box. Let's get on to draining the fluid out of the transfer case and gearbox, and then we'll remove the Roma drive. Go there and have a look yourself. I don't think it was very expensive. I think probably $30 Australian or £15, something like that. But literally a time saver, and any tool that's a time saver in my mind is well worth having. Anyway, let's get onto the seat box. Let's get on to draining the fluid out of the transfer case and gearbox, and then we'll remove the Roma drive. So some progress, or significant progress, has been made. We've taken the seat box out. Now, this can be a bit problematic. I really recommend that when you put your nuts and bolts in, put some anti-seize grease on them. I know there's the chance that they could rattle loose, but it's better for them to come loose than seized. That's my personal opinion anyway. Take it or leave it. But one of the handiest tools I've found to make this whole process a lot easier and stop the old RSI and all the rest is this little one here. Doesn't matter whether it's Ryobi or not, but this little Duvalaki, I haven't got a battery here sadly, takes a 3/8 drive on it, and it's just a really handy little tool for those smaller bolts, particularly all the bolts for the seat box, which are 7/16. So with that and a 7/16 spanner and the few 1/2 inch ones that there are, makes the job pretty easy. So this has taken me about probably, there was one difficult bolt that took half an hour, but usually it'd take me about half an hour, 20 minutes in order to do this. So pulled it out, and now all I have to do is disconnect the handbrake, and yes, I'm going to have to do that too. I'll have to take the fuel lines out here too, because it's going straight over the transmission. But other than that, we're nearly almost done. So good to see that it's coming together. Rightio, so some progress has been made, as you can see. And this is another really handy tool, the engine, I think they call them engine levelers. And what I've done is I've just used the chain and I've wrapped it around the back of the transfer case where the speedo housing is. which is fine. I've done this before. And then I've just carefully wrapped it round underneath, as you can see, the gear selector. And I've done this before too, it works okay. One of the things you have to be careful of is just making sure that the gearbox or the transmission, I should say, as it comes out, doesn't get snagged on any, I guess, cables or pipes, or hoses. Hoses is the word I'm looking for. So that's one of the things you just need to be careful of. Now, great thing is I've got an engine crane, as you can see. We're going to lift it up. I've taken the steering wheel off because I've got to take it out the driver's side, and then we'll slip it out. So a little bit of work involved. One of the other things that you need to disconnect is at the front here. Obviously on the Series 3, we've got the slave cylinder on the left hand side of the vehicle, so we need to disconnect that. If it's a Series 2, then your slave cylinder is on the right hand side of the vehicle, and you need to disconnect that too, because obviously that's there to engage and disengage the clutch. So now it's up and out, and we can inspect it, and pretty much it's getting to the end of the episode. Rightio, so that's how to get a transmission out of a Series Land Rover. Pretty simple. Fantastic that you can do it straight up through the top, but obviously with a lot of four-wheel drives you have to delve down into the deeps in order to do it, which without the use of a hoist or a pit can be a real problematic task. But anyway, if you've enjoyed this video and you want to find out more about how to get more out of your transmission, out of your Series Land Rover, then be sure to click on the subscribe button and notification button too, because we will be delving further into this transmission as we separate the transfer case from the gearbox. If you're enjoying the content here, please check us out on Patreon by clicking on the Patreon icon. If that isn't your cup of tea, then you can support us via PayPal, via our website, by clicking on the web link in the content section down below at seriouslyseries.com.au. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in our next video.